Good morning, everyone. This is Ashley Berg. For board members, I just want to make sure I have everyone that is currently logged in. Right now, I have Mary Ellen, Justin Rice, Rachel Yonoff, Carol Crockett, and Hans Dieter Close. Are there any other board members on the meeting?
Hey, Ashley. Eric's on.
Thank you, Eric. Okay, we'll wait a few more minutes to let some other board members hop on. Yeah, I'm going to do a roll call one more time. Mary Ellen, I have you, Justin Rice, Rachel Yonoff, Carol Crockett, Hans Dieter Close, and Eric Twist. Are there any other board members on the call? With that, Madam President, you do have a quorum.
All right, thank you, Ashley. Okay, well, we'll go ahead and get started with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, thank you. And with that, could we please have the roll call?
President Lee,
Here.
Vice President Close,
Here.
Superintendent Hoffman, Dr. Crockett,
Here.
Mr. Mason, Ms. Rice,
Here.
Mr. Swanson, Mr. Twist,
Here.
Ms. Yanov.
Here.
President Lee, you have a quorum.
Thank you. All right, just a few housekeeping reminders regarding virtual meetings. Board members, please stay muted, and after each agenda item, we will allow for an open discussion and dialogue first, and then Ashley may go through roll call to see if any member has any additional comments or questions. If needed to ensure each board member is heard, please make sure to state your name before you speak. Any charters on the agenda, please stay muted until the item is considered, and we will ask if the charter is available, and if so, the charter can unmute themselves at that time. The general public is viewing via a live stream. All right, and with that, we'll move on to the superintendent's report. I understand the superintendent couldn't make it today. Ashley, do we have anything to read from the superintendent?
We do not.
Okay, moving on then. Then to Ashley, the executive director's report.
Thank you, Madam President and board members. I wanted to give you all a brief update on some of the public comments that we have out right now. We have put out the policy, which is in rule for public comment, and that public comment period is between October 1st and October 21st. So there's still a few additional days for board members to look at those rules, but then also to get that feedback from charters as well. Those changes for the complaint policy are really to streamline the processes in which the board reviews complaints and reviews responses from charters. We are trying to make that process a little bit faster, but a little less burdensome on both staff and the charters, while also maintaining true compliance to law. So I think those are going to be really positive changes to both the charters and also the complainants. I think that we've seen an uptick in the number of complaints submitted past couple of years, so how we handle the complaints needs to be updated. The other rule that is out for public comment pertains to the changes to the financial framework, and these changes are coming from really the first year of implementation under the financial framework that we went through last year. And now that we've gone through a full year of the implementation of the new financial framework, there is some cleanup that we would like to do to improve the processes. Again, these are processes that we hope make it a little bit more transparent to charters as to what we're looking for and the timeframes. And then also, there are some process changes that we are requesting. We are requesting to modify financial intervention submission requirements and timeframes under the framework and add a going concern measure criterion to those considered when determining a charter holder's probation status. That public comment is still out. It was the public comment period is between October 5th through October 26th. And both of those rule changes will be going back to the board for consideration and another opportunity of public comment. We did put out for public comment the new amendment, which we are referring to as a change in charter control amendment request. And this is the amendment request that board staff has developed and is proposing to help the board and charters assist in the transition of charters. So it would be the transition of ownership or change in control. And the reason behind this was to allow charters the opportunity that if they were looking to transition their charter, that they would have an opportunity to present to the board the experience and the resources and the operational, financial, and academic plan of the new leadership that is looking to take over that charter. I did put it out for an emergency rulemaking and public comment process. However, I did receive feedback that due to the charters being in their fall break and also being their maybe potentially the first or second week back in person, we did extend that total public comment period for a full 20 days. So that public comment period for the new amendment, which we are referring to as change in charter control, is going to be between October 1st and October 21st. We have sent out many communications to our charter stakeholders regarding these public comments, and we have been receiving those comments, and board staff is reviewing them and making updates so that when these requests go back in front of the board for consideration, that all of the comments have been taken into consideration, and those comments will be presented to the board members as well as you take your consideration for those rules. With regard to a legal update, the only updates that I have for you right now is that board staff continues to work with the charters that are currently being offered a consent agreement under the operational performance framework. And Madam President, that is all I have to report at this time.
Great. Thank you, Ashley. Board members, are there any questions for Ashley before we move on? Okay. And then with that, we are to the call to the public. We are taking comments via written public comment or verbal public comment at the meeting. No written comments were received, but one person has requested to speak. So Kalia Harris with the Arizona Department of Health Services. Kalia is on the Zoom. If you could please unmute yourself, state your name for the record, and then you may address the board.
Hi, good morning. This is Kalia Harris speaking.
Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you. As mentioned, I do work with Arizona Department of Health Services. We have applied for new funding for the United States Environmental Protection Agency to offer water testing services to public charter schools for lead through the WIN grants, lead testing, and school and child care program drinking water. This project is a continuation of previous testing work completed by our agency in the licensed child care facilities, as well as with Arizona Department of Environmental Quality, ADEQ, and public schools. In preparation for this project, we are hoping to work alongside with you all on lead testing in public charter schools. And just a few pointers, we have received our funds back in March 2020, and this project will be ongoing till September 2022. Our agency, we have created a sampling plan and will be coordinating testing at the public charter schools and the remaining counties through a contractor. Initial and follow-up sampling is expected to be completed by the end of the second year of the grant periods, as well as just our intent behind testing with public charter schools is to build upon on previous sampling projects aimed at characterizing the lead contents of public charter schools facilities in the state of Arizona. And the primary goal of this project is to, one, offer services to test drinking water fixtures at these public charter schools serving younger children, especially those under the age of 6, and then 2, to offer services to testing water fixtures of all public charter schools and within Arizona by the end of our project period. And 3, mainly to provide education about lead exposure and the importance of testing to all public charter schools. And just so you all aware, we have 542 public charter schools that will have the opportunity to have their drinking water tested for lead. And we have 4 counties, Coquina, Mojave, Navajo, and Yuma counties who have agreed to participate in this project, sampling activities, and they're pretty much responsible for coordinating testing and public charter schools within their respective districts. We would like to offer you all our newsletter as well as our water screening project flyer. And once we have our webpage soon up, we will share that with you, and that will have all additional information. And it would be a great pleasure to have you all connect with us on our Basecamp blog post for the childhood lead poisoning prevention program, as well as participate and join in our Arizona Lead Coalition with our other partners to help address minimizing childhood lead poisoning prevention.
Thank you, Ms. Harris. Board members, any questions? All right, well, thank you so much for your time. And Ashley, it sounds like that might be a request that she's asking to maybe our help on to get out to the charters. And so maybe can you connect with Ms. Harris after the meeting just to see if there's anything that would be appropriate for us to do to help that?
Yes, I can.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, on to item G, the consent agenda. Board members, is there anything that you would like to take off or take separately from the consent agenda?
President Lee, Carol Crockett, I'd like to recuse myself from 3A.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Crockett. Any other items? Okay, I'd like to take 3B separately. Dr. Crockett, if you're okay, if we will just take the consent agenda items 1, 2, and 3A as a whole, and then just have you abstain from that, if that's all right, just so we can do it in 2 motions. Is that okay?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so then is there a motion for consent agenda items 1, 2, and 3A?
President Lee, this is Hans. I'll make that motion
Thank
to approve consent agenda items G1, 2, and 3A.
In a second?
This is Justin. I'll second.
Thank you, Justin. And Alexis with the roll call, please.
Vice President Close,
Aye.
Mr. Mason, Ms. Rice,
Aye.
Mr. Twist,
Aye.
Ms. Yana,
Aye.
President Lee,
Aye.
motion passes unanimously.
Thank you. All right.
Wait, I'm so sorry, Alexis. Matt Mason is on the line, and I believe that was only 5 votes. So we do need Matt.
Yeah. This is Matt Mason. I'm voting aye.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Ashley, is there a presentation for Painted Desert Montessori and then a charter rep that's on the line?
There is, and I'd be happy to provide some background information for Painted Desert Montessori.
Thank
So
you.
in December of 2019, Painted Desert Montessori was officially sold by its former owner to Montessori 7 Charities, Inc. As a result of this sale, changes are needed to the charter of the charter holder, including changes to the charter holder's boards and representative. The charter holder submitted an amendment request to add 2 new members to its corporate board and remove the 2 original members. Additionally, one of the new members is being added as a new charter representative and replacing the original charter representative. The request to add the charter representative has been expedited to allow the charter holder to gain access to the ASBCS online system to appropriately file the necessary requests and have the ability to communicate and work with board staff in its official capacity. The charter holder governance request is not being considered due to the need to collect additional documentation to process the request. The new representatives of the charter and their legal counsel have been in continuous communication with board staff to get these issues resolved and have indicated that they are willing to file additional necessary requests to maintain compliance with the contract. Madam President, if there are any questions, I'm happy to answer, but I do know that there are members of Montessori 7 here as well as their legal counsel.
Great. Thank you, Ashley. I don't have any questions for you. Yeah, if we could just have a few members or the charter holder that's going to be representing for MANA 7, just give us a little background, state your name for the record. That would be great.
Good morning, President Lee and board members. This is William Brown. And as a little bit of background, we acquired the assets of the LLC from the previous owner in January and began to work immediately to try to convert all necessary documents, filings, and such to reflect the new ownership. We immediately had to address some external issues relating to financial activities. We were a little bit delayed in getting some of these other items addressed due to the coronavirus, which I'm sure has impacted us, impacted us all in so many different ways. But during this period, from the beginning of the year through now, we've addressed specific areas, our IRS challenges, our CAP filing, which was completed on the 29th of September, and a number of other activities to try to work to make sure that the charter school is performing within the expectations of the board. We really look forward to working with the board as partners in supplying education, quality education to our communities. So yeah, we're looking forward to having access to the ASBCS online system so we can take this to the next levels necessary, again, to make sure that we are performing within expectations of the board. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Brown. And so it's my understanding, and I think you just said this, Ashley, that we're just doing the charter holder change at this meeting, and then they plan on, Mr. Brown, you plan on coming back at the next meeting. Is that correct, for the governance change?
That's correct. We felt we needed to delay the governance change until we had access to the ASBCS online system to make sure that we had all of the necessary requirements to pursue that subsequent change.
No, I appreciate that. I think that was really smart. Okay. All right. I'm good. I just wanted to clarify that. And okay. So with that, board members, if there's not any other questions, is there a motion?
President Lee, this is Hans.
Yes, please.
I move, based on the information contained in the board materials presented today, to approve consent agenda item G3B.
Thank you, Hans. Is there a second?
Second, Carol Crockett.
Thank you, Dr. Crockett. And Alexis with the roll call, please.
Vice President Close,
Aye.
Dr. Crockett,
Aye.
Mr. Mason,
Aye.
Ms. Rice,
Aye.
Mr. Twist,
Aye.
Ms. Yana,
Aye.
President Lee,
Aye.
motion passes unanimously.
Thank you. Okay, moving right along to charter amendments. Rachel, you are up, and I'd like to go ahead. It looks like we have American Leadership Academy both for H1 and H2. So if we can, I'd like to consider both requests at the same time, as long as there's no objections. Perfect.
I didn't hear any either. So good morning, President Lee and board members. American Leadership Academy, Inc. has submitted two separate amendment requests. A new school amendment request to add American Leadership Academy of Applied Technologies, which will serve grades 9 through 12 in Mesa, and one to add American Leadership Academy Surprise, which will serve grades K through 12 in Surprise. Both schools would open in fiscal year 2021. I apologize, that's 2022. The request for the addition of the Surprise campus also includes a request to increase its enrollment cap from 11,500 to 16,000 beginning in fiscal year 2021 to accommodate the additional enrollment from opening 2 new schools. The charter holder does not meet the staff recommendation criteria for either request because 5 of its current schools do not perform at or above the average performance of schools within 5 miles of their current locations, as detailed in the executive summaries and accompanying materials. Additionally, several of its current schools do not perform at or above the average performance of schools within a 5-mile radius of the proposed location of the Applied Technologies School. I'm available for questions if you have any.
Don't have any. So is there a charter, and I didn't hear any other ones. So is there a charter representative here available? If so, if you could unmute yourself at this time, state your name for the record.
Yeah, this Ashley. Hi, Glenn Way here. I've got several folks with me with American Leadership Academy. I've got Bob Plowman, who's our CFO. I've got Bill Guttery, who's our COO, Christina Schubert, and Rebecca Brewer, our academic directors of K-6 and K-12. And we've got Lonnie Hunsaker, who's a board member. We're here anxious to discuss this and open for any questions. I guess a little bit caught flat-footed by the comment that Rachel said that we weren't meeting academic standards.
Yeah, so just to clarify, because when looking at your document, I had the same question. You guys, it looks like all of your schools, I'm just going to confirm really fast, all of your schools are performing above the state average. It's just within, when looking at that 5-mile radius, some of them are not performing above what's within the 5-mile radius of that. So it's definitely not that you're underperforming in data. It's just when compared to the surrounding schools, you have some schools that are that have some data that's just a little bit better than what those 5 schools are performing at. Does that clarify maybe what Rachel's comment is?
I guess
5 of our 12.
5 of our 12 schools are performing not as high as all the schools that are around us. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, and I believe, Rachel, can you clarify, I believe, what's the threshold on that as far as what makes it red?
Yep. So what we do is we look at the schools in the surrounding area and we look at the data of the charter holder. And this is all detailed in the final appendix in the board materials for both of the ALA requests. And so what we do is we look at the data, we look at the percent proficient for the ALA schools compared to the schools in the surrounding area, both at the existing and the new location. And then based on that, if 51% of the schools or a greater number perform better than that proficiency data in either math or ELA, then that is what's going to turn that recommendation criteria from a green to a pink. So that's where that is. So if you look at the staff report or the executive summary, it's going to tell you that Gilbert North K-12, Gilbert South K-6, Queen Creek K-12, for each of those 3 schools, the more than 50% of the schools around them perform better in ELA and math proficiency. Ironwood, it's just ELA. Signal Butte K-6, it's just math. And then we have a similar scenario with the proposed location as well.
The schools would perform better.
Correct.
So the majority, yeah.
Right. Yeah, the threshold's 51%, and just looking at the data, it looks like it's, for some of those, it's just there at the 50 or 51% mark.
Schools, or Title I schools, are performing immensely better than the schools around them.
Yeah. Yeah, and so just so you guys know, typically when I see that, that's a large area of concern. Well, anything, pink is a large area of concern, but that one in particular, I always take a look at. And there's a couple of things then that I kind of look off to see. And what I did, or what I saw, or wanted to kind of point out to the board, is the FAE at all of your schools is really well. You're increasing FAE. That's what I like to see. You're above the state average. And I personally don't have any concerns. Board members, are there any questions for ALA?
One of our proudest points, of course, is the fact that we do perform really well in the Title I areas, and with growth and with proficiency.
Yeah.
And
No,
I think that's the key point to state here is it is important to remember that piece of data is based on proficiency only. Based on the school's letter grades being A's and B's, it is likely that the growth points are a key data factor for these schools in their success.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Okay. So with that, I didn't hear any other questions. So with that, is there a motion?
President Lee, this is Hans. I move, based on the information contained in the board materials and presented today, to approve the requests, 1, to add American Leadership Academy Surprise and American Leadership Academy of Applied Technologies to the contract of American Leadership Academy Incorporated, and 2, to increase the enrollment cap of American Leadership Academy Incorporated from 11,500 to 16,000.
Great. Thank you. Is there a second?
This is Justin. I'll second.
Thank you, Ms. Rice, with a second. And Alexis, if you'll do the roll call, please.
Vice President Close,
Aye.
Dr. Crockett,
Aye.
Mr. Mason,
Aye.
Ms. Wright,
Aye.
Mr. Twist,
Aye.
Ms. Yana,
Aye.
President Lee,
Aye.
motion passes unanimously.
Thank you guys for being here.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
All right, moving on to item agenda I, replication application. Rachel, looks like we have Montessori Education Group.
It's actually Morrison, but yes.
Morrison. Oh my goodness, sorry.
Oh gosh, no worries. It's a Tuesday, Monday, so it's fine. Morrison Education Group, Inc. submitted an application to replicate its charter, which has been in operation since 2009. If approved, the new charter will be held by the same entity as the existing charter. The proposed school, Sun Valley Academy Surprise, will serve students in grades K through 8 in Surprise and has a target start date of July 18th of 2022. If approved, the charter will have an enrollment cap of 900. Morrison Education Group was approved for its first replication in May of 2019 and opened its replicated charter and school, Sun Valley Academy Avondale, in August of this year. I'm available for questions.
Okay, doesn't sound like there's any questions. Is there a representative here for Morrison?
Yes, good morning. My name is Tanae Morrison, and I'm with Morrison Education Group.
Great, welcome. Would you just give us a little bit of background as far as why you're wanting to do a replication?
Awesome. Thank you for the opportunity to speak on behalf of our organization. Sun Valley Academy, as you may be aware, we've been in existence since 2009. We've been serving dedicated service to our community for the last 12 years. We felt just a few years ago that we had achieved some very significant things that put us in a position to replicate, to offer our services and program to more students. We did that successfully with the launch of Sun Valley Academy Avondale campus, and we did that amidst COVID-19, which was no small feat. So we're very, very proud of that accomplishment, that we were still able to reach and form relationships and meet the needs of families in the Avondale area. And as a part of our strategic growth plan, we are ready to take our program to the Surprise community. We've already begun efforts to establish a presence in the area, to form relationships, and we believe that we have the heart and character to bring a high quality program that will impact children. So we are looking for permission to replicate in Surprise. Thank you.
Thank you. I just have a question. It looks like after reading through your materials that you really are going for kind of what would be considered a rapid expansion, if I'm reading that correctly, maybe one school site a year, or could you maybe clarify just kind of what your long-term plan is and maybe, if it is a rapid expansion, just how do you plan on supporting that and why so quickly?
Thank you. I wouldn't have classified us as a rapid expansion. In fact, I actually felt we were the opposite in that we waited a number of years, I believe 9 years, in fact, before we sought to move or to grow at all. And what we were looking at, our goal right now is to have 3 schools. We wanted, our long-term goal is 7, but we wanted to start with 3 schools in a concentrated area. We've done strategic research to make sure that we were ready to go into those areas. And so when you're talking about infrastructure, we have expanded our personnel, our program, and making sure that we have the right infrastructure to replicate. Again, we don't actually want to get too big too fast. We don't have maybe some of the ambitions as some of the other charter organizations. We really want quality over quantity. So our pace is determined by the service and the quality of service that we offer to our students and families. So we have taken great pains to establish a strong presence. Our culture, which is key in our program, we are working even in the virtual environment, even amidst COVID, we're making sure that our second site looks and feels like a Sun Valley Academy campus. And with that, we believe that 2022, we will be ready for the surprise location. And we will then reassess, continue to watch our data, making sure that we deserve the opportunity to grow.
Great, thank you. And at your Avondale campus, are you offering in person, or are you guys fully online, or are you doing a mixture of both? What does that look like?
That's a great question. We're currently a mixture of both, with a majority of our families virtual. We in our targeted re-enrollment plan or reopening, excuse me, our reopening plan, we are obviously watching our numbers that in each area, and our numbers say that caution should still be taken. So our families, we gave our families, of course, a choice. We have some families who are choosing to use our in-person service academic program, but the majority of our families are virtual at this time.
And did that change your staffing at all at Avondale?
You know, that's a great question. You know, we had to make a commitment. You know, our commitment was to our staff and to our families. And so we have moved forward. We have done very minimal change in our staffing or in our personnel. It's been restricted only to a few support staff members that we needed to furlough, but we have kept an overwhelming number of our employees, our team members are on, and they're with us. They're on board presently.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a little, at least for me, it's just a little nerve-wracking doing a replication, and not with your first one, because I believe you guys took quite a bit of time with the Avondale. It's hard because we don't have data. However, we don't have data due to something beyond your control. So I also don't think that we can penalize you for not necessarily having data. I will say, personally, if you were to come back next year and we still didn't see data and you wanted another replication school, I would be very hesitant to approve that, just because we've seen so many times charters come before here and have the ambitions and do great things, and then just go a little too fast, and then they come back for us, not for replication but for other reasons that they don't want to be in front of us before. So I would just caution that. And again, I'm not sure, once you take on this school, if that'll even, what your plan 100% will be moving forward, but just to kind of give you that caution of, if this gets passed, to really, especially coming off, or as we're still amidst, COVID, taking these 3 sites and really, really working on them and letting them grow and getting some good data before kind of expanding out. Yeah, please.
And if I may, thank you. And I appreciate the concern, because again, you share our concern, which is to make sure that we have a quality program for our students and our families. One of the things that I had the privilege of doing in my doctoral study, I received my doctoral study focusing specifically on charter school sustainability. And so one of the things that I spent years, painful years doing, is research in how do charters sustain themselves? What are the characteristics and the traits that make for a strong foundation, which would allow a charter to have to be in existence and to be around longer to help children and families. And so I feel that our organization has a very good viewpoint on this. And I want the board to rest assured that we have no ambition to be too big, too fast. We want to be able to support and to make sure that the work that we're doing with our students and families is quality. And so although we have two schools. So I want to be clear, we have two schools right now, and we're seeking that third one. We feel that that is still within our realm of possibility to have a strong academic impact and to leave a strong footprint in both the Avondale, the Surprise, as well as the South Mountain, Levine South Mountain area communities. And I do think that we have that. So one of the things that I've been cautious about, and our governance has been cautious about, is not trying to do too much. And so we want you to know that we too are looking at that, and we feel that the 3 schools is manageable, but not just manageable, we feel that we will have success. And again, we're looking at 2022 for that site. We continue to shore up our Avondale campus, even though we've had a strong start, even in COVID-19, and we do believe that we're ready for this opportunity.
Great. Thank you for that clarification. And then I just have one more question. You know what your FRL numbers are? Because I know that they are not listed here. And my guess is you're not at 0%, but do you just not track those numbers because maybe you don't participate in the school lunch program, or do you know what they are?
We actually, and I was actually surprised that it wasn't there. That data has been accessible to us. I don't have last year's numbers. We were at about 60, I don't want to make it up, 64% reduced lunch, I believe. We were about 64%. And I saw that as I was reviewing the documents that it wasn't there. I apologize for that. I'm happy to provide that information more concretely to the staff if you desire that.
No, that's okay. A good rough estimate is good with me. So, okay. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Board members, are there any other questions? Okay. All right, then with that, is there a motion?
President Lee, this is Hans. I move based on the information contained in the board materials and presented today to approve the request to grant replication charter to Morrison Education Group Incorporated Entity ID 90192 to establish Sun Valley Academy Surprise serving grades K through 8 in Surprise.
Great, and is there a second?
This is Justin. I'll second.
Thank you, Ms. Rice. Alexis with the roll call, please.
President Close,
Aye.
Dr. Crockett,
Aye.
Mr. Mason,
Aye.
Ms. Rice,
Aye.
Mr. Twist,
Aye.
Ms. Yana,
Aye.
President Lee.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously.
All right. Thank you so much, Dr. Morrison, for being here.
Thank you. Have a great day.
All right. Moving on to item J, good cause extension. Ashley.
Madam President and board members, SLAM was granted a charter during the new charter application on December 9th, 2019 to open a school in Mesa for the 2021-2022 school year, serving grades K through 12. As part of the new application, the approved applicant agrees and signs a statement acknowledging that they must execute the charter contract within 12 months of the date of approval. As a condition to signing the charter contract, the approved applicant must provide proof of a secured facility. Due to difficulties securing an appropriate facility and COVID-19 restrictions impeding marketing and enrollment, SLAM is requesting a good cause extension to the signing and execution of the charter to begin providing services for the 2022 and 2023 school year. Board rule indicates an applicant that has not yet executed a charter may submit to the board a written request for good cause extension request to execute a charter. Rule states that the board shall grant a good cause extension to execute a charter if an applicant demonstrates good cause. And good cause is determined by considering the 6 items that have been provided in the executive summary. And Madam President, with that, I am available for any questions. And I do know there's a representative from SLAM as well.
Board members, any questions for Ashley before we have the representative? Okay, then if not, if there's a representative from SLAM, if you'd like to unmute yourself, state your name for the record and provide any details.
Thank you so much. Hello, everyone. Thank you to the board and the staff. My name is Millie Sanchez, and I'm a representative of the SLAM board for Arizona. We also have on the call one of our board members, Mr. Mesa, and our principal, who we've identified and been working with throughout this process. As Ms. Berg mentioned, we filed this good cause extension really because of the premise of our program. Our goal in this past year was to really focus on securing a site that would allow us to serve the intended target population, which is, we intend to serve students that are predominantly Title I, and the areas that we were seeking really require us to be able to have a grassroots campaign, which is what we originally put as part of our marketing plan. As you all know, we've all been enduring this COVID situation together, but unfortunately, it's really delayed. In one instance, our facilities, we did get approved in December and January. We were actually already had seen several facilities. They just did not meet the target population that we wanted to serve. And then obviously we had the closures in March, and that really delayed our process. We weren't able to physically see some of those sites. And I think more importantly, we weren't able to do those community and town hall meetings. We were working with the city, the mayor of Mesa at the time, to be able to really do a grassroots campaign, as I mentioned. And I think that's really been the delay in this case. I want to assure you that as part of our submittal, we did put forth a more detailed timeline to show that we're definitely prepared to meet this timeline. And we've been working, the principal, myself, and the board have been working diligently on adapting the curriculum to the standards and obviously working on the branding and everything else that comes with the opening timeline. So again, I'm open to any questions you may have on this matter.
Board members, are there any questions? I just have one. It looks like you have the principal already working exclusively, and so there's not going to be any issues in regards to just payroll without having students for this, because I know you're planning on having students in the 21-22 school year, so you'll be able to keep on the staff that you intended to keep on for the opening plan and
yes,
and that.
And everyone's aware of that, obviously. And we've actually been working. Our principal, also teaches. She does many different things, but obviously she's been working remotely on this and is aware that this would be, coming on board officially on our budget the following year.
Okay. If not, and there's no other questions, then is there a motion?
President Lee, this is Hans.
Yeah.
I move based on the information contained in the board materials and presented today to approve the request to grant a good cause extension to SLAM Arizona Incorporated for the signing and execution of their charter contract.
President Lee, this is Carol Crockett. Second the motion.
Thank you, Dr. Crockett. Alexis with the roll call, please.
Vice President Close,
Aye.
Dr. Crockett,
Aye.
Mr. Mason,
Aye.
Mr. Rice,
Aye.
Mr. Twist,
Aye.
Ms. Yana,
Aye.
President Lee,
Aye.
motion passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for your time on this matter. We look forward to opening and to serving students in Mesa.
Absolutely. We're excited as well. All right. Thank you, guys. Okay. Moving on to item K, annual charter audits.
Hi, this is Andrea. President Lee, members of the board, good morning. Today I will be presenting on the operational and financial performance of your portfolio as identified through the fiscal year 2019 audits. The audits are reviewed pursuant to administrative rule and the board's operational and financial frameworks. Each charter holder that will be operating in the next fiscal year receives a letter after the audit has been reviewed. Depending on the charter holder's performance and the audit issues identified, the letter may, 1, indicate the charter holder should work towards correcting the issues and that staff will monitor for repeated issues in the next audit. I think one more, yeah. Indicate the audit included repeated issues that had not been addressed from the prior year's audit. Require the charter holder to submit a corrective action plan. State the charter holder will be placed on an upcoming agenda for possible disciplinary action, and or require the charter holder to prepare financial intervention submissions. The audit letter informs the charter holder of its financial performance and any audit matters that have been reflected on the operational dashboard. This slide reflects the performance of the board's portfolio based on corrective action plans required to be submitted for fiscal years 2010 through the 2019 audits. I would like to take a moment and go over the data found in the first 5 rows of the FY19 column. Board staff reviewed 407 fiscal year 2019 audits. The 407 audits identified 53 issues involving 48 charter holders, which required the submission of a corrective action plan or CAP. The 48 charter holders represent approximately 12% of the board's portfolio that submitted fiscal year 2019 audits. Unlike in earlier years where CAP issues tended to be concentrated with a few charter holders, no charter holders had 3 or more CAP issues identified in their fiscal year 2019 audits. While the number of audits overall has increased from fiscal year 2010 to 2019, the table generally shows an annual decline in the number of CAP issues identified through the audits. The exceptions are the fiscal years 2012, 2016, and most recently 2019 audits. The higher number of CAP issues in fiscal year 2019 is largely attributable to an increase in the number of issues identified involving fingerprinting, internal controls, and fiscal matters. The reason for the increase is not clear. Finally, the last row of the table shows that the number of no CAP issues identified through the audits remained the same based on the fiscal year 2019 audits. If the audit firm indicates in the audit that an issue that would normally require a CAP has been corrected after the testing date, but prior to the audit's release, then a CAP is not required. However, since the charter holder was not in compliance at the time the audit firm did its testing, that matter becomes part of the charter holder's compliance history and is designated as a no CAP issue. This next slide identifies the top 5 audit CAP issues based on the fiscal year 2019 audits, along with the number of occurrences for each issue, and then compares them to the top 5 CAP issues from the fiscal year 2010 audits. For issues of non-compliance that do not require a CAP, staff tracks the issue and determines if the issue is repeated in the next year's audit. The determination of a repeated issue is made in accordance with Appendix B of the board's operational framework. If the issue falls within the parameters of Appendix B and is identified in at least 2 consecutive audits, it is referred to as a repeated minimal impact finding. The number of repeated minimal impact findings has ranged from a low of 23 identified in the fiscal year 2019 audits to a high of 136 identified in the fiscal year 2012 audits. Approximately 65% of repeated minimal impact findings are addressed by charter holders after being identified in 2 consecutive audits. Approximately 83% are addressed after being identified in 3 consecutive audits. Now shifting gears to financial performance. The fiscal year 2019 audits are the first reviewed using the board's new financial framework. Under the financial framework, a charter holder is assigned one of 3 summative financial performance ratings: good standing, adequate standing, or intervention. Approximately 75% of the board's portfolio received a good standing rating based on the fiscal year 2019 audits. Those charter holders that received an intervention rating were required to submit quarterly reports and other information to the board for fiscal year 2020. The intervention process has concluded for all but 1 charter holder who recently submitted its fiscal year 2019 audit to the board. At a subsequent meeting, staff will provide an intervention-specific update for the board. This last graph shows the portfolio's performance by the financial framework's 6 measures. As Ashley mentioned earlier, the board has opened the public comment period for proposed changes to the financial framework rules. That comment period closes on October 26th. As Ashley indicated, the proposed changes include modifying certain financial intervention submission requirements and timeframes adding a going concern measure criterion to those considered when determining a charter holder's probation status, and improving transparency regarding consequences for untimely or incomplete financial intervention submissions. Staff anticipates bringing these changes to the November meeting for board consideration. This concludes my presentation, and I'm available for any questions.
Thank you so much, Andrea. Board members, are there any questions? I just have one. I'm just curious, and Andrea, I don't know if this is a question that you can answer, but maybe it's more of just a general question, is do we know why we consistently have fingerprinting issues? I mean, is that they're not, does that mean that charters don't have fingerprint clearance cards or some sort of documentation on file for employees that are working there? Can you just maybe provide some clarification on that? That just seems like a real easy one to not get in trouble for.
Yeah, I don't know exactly, but my guess would be that because the fingerprint cards expire, some of our schools have not set up processes to kind of monitor those expiration dates to get ahead of it.
Okay.
Typically, we're not seeing with those audit findings that staff don't never had a card and that they're working there. It's usually that a card has expired. In some cases, the findings pertain to contracted individuals, which the requirements are a little different for them. And so that may be something that maybe caught the school off guard. But I think it's mainly that the cards expire and they don't have a mechanism to track that.
Okay, that makes more sense. And Andrea or Ashley, do you think it might be appropriate just to, in our monthly or newsletters, just maybe to provide some clarification or guidance on fingerprint? I mean, just if we see that this is kind of a consistent, seems to be one of the top issues, maybe we could provide some sort of guidances or best practices or reminders to our charter holders, so that way this becomes not a consistent issue moving forward.
Yes, Madam President, in the past, we have provided guidance and information for our charters on fingerprinting practices and some HR and personnel guidance. So we will go ahead and put that out. It should be noted as well that when we go and do site visits, we do look at resumes and fingerprinting at different timeframes as well. So we will continue to put out additional guidance for our schools to try to get ahead of these issues.
Okay, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Okay. Well, great job, Andrea. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, going on to agenda item L. It looks like you are up again with the financial action plan waiver.
So President Lee, members of the board, pursuant to board rule, a charter holder that does not meet the board's financial performance expectations due to receiving an on probation determination must submit quarterly reports until the board receives the charter holder's next audit, and must also submit a financial action plan. Since staff made the probation status determinations based in part on the charter holder's June 30, 2020 quarterly reports, one on probation charter holder has submitted its fiscal year 2020 audit to the board. Based on the fiscal year 2020 audit, this charter holder meets the board's financial performance expectations. Pursuant to board rules, the initial requirement for this charter holder to provide a September 30, 2020 quarterly report by the end of this month no longer applies because the board has received the charter holder's fiscal year 2020 audit. However, due to an oversight when the financial framework rules were initially drafted, the requirement to submit a financial action plan by November 16th remains. Staff has drafted rule changes to address this oversight going forward, and those changes are out for public comment. For those charter holders currently required to submit a financial action plan, staff is proposing the board authorize staff to waive the plan requirement if the board has 1, received an on probation charter holder's fiscal year 2020 audit by November 8th, and 2, the fiscal year 2020 audit demonstrates the charter holder meets the board's financial performance expectations. I'm available for questions.
Board members, are there any questions? Okay. All right. Thank you so much, Andrea. We appreciate it.
You're welcome.
All right. We're on item M, summary of current events. Ashley, if you'll give us any future meeting dates, that would be wonderful.
Madam President, if we could go back to the previous agenda item, I do believe it would be best to get a motion on that. It was for consideration and approval.
That was already, oh, okay. Is there a motion? Sorry about that. Thank you,
President
Ashley.
Lee, this is Hans. I move based on the information contained in the board materials and presented today to authorize staff to waive the financial action plan requirement if the board has received an on probation charter holder's fiscal year 2020 audit by November 8th, 2020, and the fiscal year 2020 audit demonstrates the charter holder meets the board's minimum financial performance expectations.
Thank you, Hans. Is there a second?
Second, Carol Crockett.
Dr. Crockett. Alexis with the roll call.
Vice President Close,
Aye.
Dr. Crockett,
Aye.
Mr. Mason,
Aye.
Ms. Rice,
Aye.
Mr. Twist,
Aye.
Ms. Yana,
Aye.
President Lee,
Aye.
motion passes unanimously.
All right, now item M. Ashley, if you could give us the future meeting dates, any current events, thanks.
Yes, thank you, Madam President. I wanted to briefly mention the next meeting dates because they are different than our typical meeting dates. The next meeting is Friday, November 20th. And then the meeting in December will be December 15th, and that is a Tuesday. So for board members and for the community, I just want to make sure that that is very public and transparent, that our meeting dates are different. It's not our typical second Monday of the month. Instead, it's going to be Friday, November 20th, and then Tuesday, December 15th. And Madam President, that is all I have to report.
Okay, thank you so much, Ashley. And then with that, it looks like we are adjourned. Thank you.